Lancaster, the recruiting director with KMA HR Consulting. And we partner with different clients in all different industries to help them with all HR services, HR related services, including recruiting. And for any company that cares about their people, KMA can help enhance that relationship. Excited to be partnering with Rich today, collaborating and learning from Rich. He's got some great information on LinkedIn, and there's no better time than now with everything that's going on than to look at your own profile and take care of LinkedIn and how you're presenting yourself out there on social media. So Rich, so glad to have you here and so glad to be doing this with you today. So thank you, and take it away.
All right. With that being said, I am going to start my presentation. All right, so I'm just about to start, and as I get going this morning, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the Q&A section, please. And I may answer them right away. I'm not going to be looking at it, but Holly, and then we also have Lindsay from Flyte New Media on as well this morning. And if there's a question that they feel that they should interrupt me, they will. Otherwise, I'll just answer as many Q&As as I possibly can at the end of the presentation. But in the meantime, I'll get started. Could you give me one more cup? All right. So today we're going to be talking about how to use LinkedIn and stand out online. Now, LinkedIn is a powerful platform, and there are a number of things you can do with LinkedIn. You can prospect for customers, you can hunt for a new job, you can upgrade your skill set, and of course, you can recruit for your company. For today's purposes, I'm going to be focusing on using LinkedIn to stand out online. So I may be skipping over some of the tools and topics, but certainly happy to answer any and all of your LinkedIn questions during that Q&A. And Holly, can you just confirm for me with a thumbs up that the screen just advanced?
Screen advanced.
Awesome. All right, so why do I love LinkedIn? Why do I think it's such a great platform for you? Well, with over 300 million active users, there are a lot of people here, and these are all business people just like you. And unlike some other platforms out there, some other social media platforms, this is a very low time commitment. If you spend just a few minutes a day on LinkedIn, you're going to be in the top 5% of all users. Standing out online often means making meaningful connections. LinkedIn has great tools for finding and connecting with all the right people. And then there are the tools for building your platform. You can create engaging posts, publish meaningful articles, deliver videos, and a whole lot more. And it's not Facebook. That means little if no politics, no pictures of kids, very few selfies, and any humble brags are at least confined to business. So if you're really just tired of all the people talking about all the different stuff that's going on right now with on Facebook, this is almost like a nice reprieve. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Rich Brooks, and I'm the president of Flyte New Media. We're a web design and internet marketing company, which means we design and build websites. We do search engine optimization, social media, email marketing, webinars, anything you need to stand out online to generate more leads and to grow your business. I'm also the founder of the Agents of Change, a weekly podcast and an annual conference that takes place in Portland, Maine, where we bring in some of the top marketers from around the country, sometimes beyond, to share what's going on with using search, social, and mobile marketing to grow your business. I'm also the tech guru on 207. You guys all know 207. It's the evening news program on the NBC affiliates here in Maine. I wrote a book called The Lead Machine, The Small Business Guide to Digital Marketing, which is all about how you can generate more business online. Most recently, I've co-founded Fast Forward Maine, a weekly podcast and in-person and webinar these days, resource for growing Maine businesses. That's at fastforwardmaine.com. And I also do in-person and virtual training for executives and sales teams on LinkedIn, everything from building a thought leadership platform to prospecting for new clients. So I recently got my dad onto LinkedIn. He's a well-known clinical psychologist. He has a huge email list, a website, a big following on Facebook, also uses Twitter. And most of the time I spent training him about LinkedIn was really just showing him how similar LinkedIn was to Facebook. Some of the concepts on LinkedIn. Well, you've got your profile, a page that's all about you, just like on Facebook. On LinkedIn, your profile may even be more important than it is on Facebook, because on Facebook, people spend most of their time in the feed. Here on LinkedIn, often people will go to your page to learn more about you. It's really the tentpole for all your LinkedIn activity. On LinkedIn, you have connections, just like on Facebook, you have friends. You've got the newsfeed, just like you do on Facebook as well. And when you go to LinkedIn, you're going to see posts from people and businesses that you're connected to. And like on Facebook, there's even an algorithm to show you the posts that LinkedIn feels you'll find most interesting. You can add to the feed with your own posts, photos, and videos. And of course, there are ads. There's LinkedIn Messenger, which works just like, wait for it, Facebook Messenger. And there are company pages, which are similar to Facebook's business pages, except for whatever reason, they're not nearly as powerful. I don't know why LinkedIn is not really up to their game on company pages, since it is a B2B type platform. Really, the biggest difference between LinkedIn and Facebook is just the purpose. Facebook is more about connecting with friends and family, as well as some business. And on LinkedIn, it's all business. But of course, really, they're just about connecting with other people. So today in the presentation, what I want to cover is your profile, how to optimize your profile, how to build a network and connect with the right people, how to make the most of the feed and all the other features. Then we're going to jump into some profile reviews. And again, if you got in here late, I'm happy to take a look at as many profiles that we have time for. Inside the chat or the Q&A, just put in your full URL for your LinkedIn profile. And like I said, I'll try and get to as many of those as possible. And then we'll do some Q&A for as long as people are interested. So let's dive in. It all starts with your profile on LinkedIn. You don't want to be doing anything until you optimize your profile. People are definitely going to come and check out your profile for a number of different reasons. And if you're looking to stand out online, you want to optimize your profile to get found to build that credibility. Now, while the profile stretches down much further than in the screen capture, sorry about that, there are a number of sections that I want you to pay attention to. The first one is the header section. The next is the about section, and then the featured section. We're going to be going to all the important sections on your profile, but let's start with that header section. My dad actually asked, one of the questions he asked that I thought was interesting was, how do people find me on LinkedIn? And there are a number of ways, but the search tool is a common way. Now, the LinkedIn search is not as sophisticated as Google search, so it's easier to manipulate. You can basically just take the keywords that you want to get found for and put them in some key places. And the first key place is going to be right here in the header area. So let's start right at the top. You've got this header background image. This is probably the easiest way for you to stand out on LinkedIn, because the default that probably still more than half the people use is that just weird starry type thing image that LinkedIn gives you. And the first way to show that you really take LinkedIn seriously and you're using it to build your career and to make a difference in people's lives is to put an image in there. Now, they recommend a background image of 1584 by 396. You don't really have to remember that. I'm sure you can Google it afterwards. Oh, and you know what? I've got a cheat sheet anyway, so I'll share that cheat sheet with everybody who is in attendance. Basically, it's a 4x1. And what I see a lot of people do is they'll just put up any image, waterfalls, balloons, whatever they like. And there's nothing wrong with that. It does help you stand out from the generic background. But really, this is an opportunity for you to put up a billboard about yourself and let people know what you're all about. Now, I have the benefit of having a creative director on my team, so I told him what I wanted. He made it look good. But anybody who comes to my page is immediately going to see that I'm a public speaker, that I talk about digital marketing and social media, and then they can see I'm also an author and a consultant, and they might see my 3 brands. Those may mean something to them, they may not, but they can see that there is something going on here with me. So that's the first thing you want to do. The next thing to pay attention to is your profile pic. Now, most of you probably have a nice professional headshot. Mine is in front of brick because if you're a business person in Maine and you didn't take your headshot in front of a brick wall, Are you even a Mainer? I don't even know. But anyway, I digress. The point is, you want a professional looking headshot here. You don't want a picture of your company logo. You don't want a picture of your dog. You don't want a picture of that you at that party from the other night that you really like, where you had to crop off your friend's body and his arm or her arm is still around your shoulders. That's just not what we're going for on LinkedIn. We really do want to show a professional look and feel to what we're doing. Now, that doesn't mean stodgy. I work at a digital agency. We're supposed to be creative people. So the bottom line is, you can do what's right for your business, your profile, but there is a higher level of expectation of professionalism on LinkedIn than there would be on Facebook or Twitter. And the next important section that I want to draw your attention to is the headline. You have 120 characters here. And what I see a lot of people doing is just putting in their recent job description, president, HR, whatever it may be. But really, I want you to stop thinking about it as your job title and start thinking about it as your headline, like something that's going to capture people's eyes. But the other thing is, it's also one of the best places to put your keywords in. So for example, you can see here, mine reads currently, because I change it around all the time, I update it regularly. I help small businesses with digital marketing, websites, SEO, social media, and email, speaker, author, consultant. So I've got some great keywords in here: small business, digital marketing, websites, SEO, social media, email. Those are all things that we offer or are involved in at Flyte, as me especially. And so I get those into my headline. And that's going to help when people are doing searches for people who might have that skill set. And a lot of people do those kind of searches. If I just put in president or founder up there, the only people who would be reaching out to me are people looking to sell to presidents and founders. Now, if you're looking at yours and you're like, oh, mine needs a little bit of a tweak, and you're not sure how to do it, well, when you're logged into your account, you'll see this little icon over here, this little edit icon. And when you click on it, you're going to get a pop-up window that looks something like this. And basically, as you look through it, you can see there's another edit button right here. So when you're ready to put in that image for your header image, you can click on that link. If you need to update your profile picture, you'll notice there's another little edit icon right there. And what happens sometimes is we might have multiple concurrent positions. Maybe you have a position at your company, but you also sit on a board. You're also a volunteer. And depending on the order you added those into LinkedIn, the wrong job or the wrong position may be showing up on your bio. So here is actually where you can pull down from all your positions and decide which is the position that you want to promote most heavily. So for me, it's president of my company. So I clicked on that and I was able to change that from whatever it was. And then the rest of the information is pretty straightforward. At the bottom, you'll notice one more icon, and this is for changing your profile URL, website, email, and more information. So this is really important. Let's take a look at that one. When we click on that, we get yet another pop-up. And the first thing I want you to notice is your profile URL. Now, LinkedIn will give you a default URL when you first sign up for the service. And very often, unless you have a very unique name, it's just going to add a bunch of characters to the end of your name. So I might have been like linkedin.com/in/richbrooks497321. Not exactly the branding that we're looking for. So my brand is always The Rich Brooks on every social media platform. This is because I have a very common name, and I got on Twitter right off the bat, like within the first couple months of Twitter being around, but there already was at least one Rich Brooks on the system. So as a joke, I called myself The Rich Brooks. But then I noticed people started introducing me at events saying, this is The Rich Brooks. And so I realized maybe that had actually worked in my favor, and I started using The Rich Brooks on all the different platforms. So my recommendation is use your name if you can. If you can't, come up with something that maybe you could use on other platforms as well, if that's something that you care about. But you definitely want to take control of your own URL. And you don't want to change it around once you've decided on it, because if anybody has created links to your profile somewhere, those links will get broken. There's no forwarding available. So choose wisely and then just stick with it. So if I wanted to change it, I could click on that and then I would change it, but I'm going to keep that as is. The other thing I want to show you here is you're also allowed to create some links. And these can be links to your company website. It could be your personal blog. It could be anything you want to show. Maybe you've got a podcast or a YouTube channel. So what I recommend doing is you put the website URL, the domain name, into the website URL box, and then the default in this field says company. I recommend changing company to other, because once you change company to other, you get one more field, and then you can type out whatever you want. And why is this important? Again, these are little like pro tips here, because when somebody looks at your contact information on your profile page, they're going to see this. So if I had just gone with company, it would have said takeflyte.com, company, agentsofchange.com, company, so on and so forth. But now I've been able to brand those so people know Flyte New Media, Agents of Change, Fast Forward Maine. So again, just a little bit more branding, a little bit more opportunity for you to stand out online. Below the header. And one other thing I wanted to mention about the header, you'll also notice that you can see how many connections people have until they get to 501. At 501, LinkedIn just says 500 plus. And it's been my experience that people are more interested in connecting to people who are well connected. So my recommendation for you is to try and get past that 500 mark, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes when we get to your connections. So the next section down is about, and depending on the day of the week, LinkedIn will show 2 or 3 of these lines of the about section and then the see more. So you've got these 2 lines to capture somebody's attention. What are you going to do with them? Now, we've got a podcast dropping today where I'm talking to John Nemo, who's a LinkedIn consultant, expert in getting people to pay attention to your profile. He has his own formula for how your about section should be written up. Basically, it's all about who you help, how you help them, and what the outcomes are going to be, which I think is a great approach, but it's not necessarily right for me. I have an interesting story. At a company party years ago, my boss hired a psychic. This is true, by the way, who told me I needed to trust my gut more. So the next day I quit my job and started helping companies generate more leads online. Now, I've had a lot of people come up to me through LinkedIn and be like, I can't believe that. Is that really true? Or what a great story. I couldn't wait to read more. So think about what you're going to do in those 2 lines to get people to read more. And keep in mind that people are going to have to click the see more to actually see more. When they do, they're going to get to your about section. It's going to expand. A lot of people just put in a few lines, but you can put in up to 2,000 characters. And remember, you're trying to get found on LinkedIn. So make sure that a lot of your keywords appear there too. Now, you're not allowed to put in any HTML into this about section, which means no working links, no bold, no italics, no numbered lists, no bulleted lists. But you can see that I've actually kind of dolled this up a little bit with the use of emojis. It started, innocently enough, just by me using the little checkbox instead of a bulleted list. But then I started adding sections to each, emojis to each paragraph to kind of explain what they were about. Did I go overboard on emojis? Well, that's up to you to decide if you think I did. But the point is, it helps the content stand out. And at the bottom of my about section, I list my specialties. So again, this is another place where I'm using my keywords to help me get found and to stand out online. Below that section is the featured section. And this is where a lot of your media is going to appear. This recently got an overhaul, and I think it's much better than it used to be. So as you can see here, because I'm logged in, you can see that there's a couple of important icons down there, the add and the edit icons. Now, if I click on the add icon, you can see there's 4 different kinds of things that you can put into your featured section. Posts, something you've already posted to LinkedIn. Articles, if you've already written an article on LinkedIn. Links, which would be basically anything from your website. And then media. So let's just take an example of what it looks like when you add a piece of media to your featured section. I created a PDF of the presentation that you're seeing now. This was a rough draft, just as an example. And so I took the PDF and I uploaded it to LinkedIn through the featured section. They chose the first header image as a preview image, and then I entered in the title and the description as well, and then hit save, and suddenly it was there in my featured section. Now, if you don't want it to be the first thing, this is a nice feature they finally added in. You can change the order that your featured media shows up in. So you just click on that edit icon, the little pencil, and then suddenly you can use those hamburger menus on the right-hand side and reorder your featured section to make sure whatever you want to appear in those first 2 or 3 boxes are what you're looking for. And so that's basically how you can do featured. And again, it's just great visuals on your profile page. Below that is the experience section. And this includes all your work and volunteer history. You should include as many things as feel relevant to who you want to appear to be on LinkedIn. And again, make sure you use good descriptive keywords with discoverability in mind when you're talking about your past experiences and current experiences. Now, I noticed as I was putting together this presentation that I never included Fast Forward Maine in my experience. So I added it. I just clicked on the little plus sign and I got this little pop-up and I entered in all the information. Now, here's a pro tip. After I updated my experience with Fast Forward Maine, my profile showed my employer as Fast Forward Maine, not Flyte. To fix this, I just had to rearrange the order of experience. So just like in the featured media video, I just grabbed one of those hamburger menus and reordered everything so that Flyte New Media would appear at the top. And so Flyte New Media is my employer of choice. And below experience is basically just education, which I would recommend filling that out because it's just one more way that people may find you and a way of you being able to connect with other alumni. Below that, you'll find skills and endorsements. And if you haven't reviewed your skills in a while, you really should. Because if some of your real life skills aren't listed in your skills section, people can't endorse you for those skills. So this is an opportunity for you to really sculpt what you're doing and how you want to be perceived on LinkedIn. Consider deleting out-of-date skills or duplicate skills, and consider focusing on your strengths and your in-demand skills right now. So as I went through this, I clicked on the edit button and I had maxed out my skills, like all 50 of them were taken. I don't remember if I did this. I don't remember if LinkedIn did this. Looking at the list of 50, it seemed like I may have chosen some and LinkedIn may have filled in the rest. They've changed the way they do things. I don't think they add anything new anymore. But what I needed to do is I needed to make some space. And so again, one of the things I noticed is that there were a lot of similar or duplicate skills. Like here you can see LinkedIn and LinkedIn marketing. In my opinion, really the same thing. And I was concerned that maybe I would have, I would dilute the endorsements for both because people would choose one or the other. But really, I wanted to focus everybody's attention. So I ended up deleting LinkedIn marketing to put the focus on LinkedIn in general. And again, I did this for a number of different things. And there were a few skills in there that I didn't really consider skills. So if you still have like a fax marketer listed or bartending, that might be one you want to get rid of so people can focus on the skills and that you really are good at and endorse you there.
Rich, can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
There's a couple people popping up saying they don't have the featured section, and I personally don't see the skills section on my edit profile. So are we doing something wrong?
You are not doing something wrong. What I believe is going on is when you first set up your LinkedIn profile, it either wasn't a default or that it wasn't, or you just didn't add it in. Remind me, so you can add these sections in. And what I'll do is when we get to the end, I'll go into my own LinkedIn profile and I'll see if I can find that section where you can add new sections into it. That is something you can do. It's in one of the edit sections, and at the end, I'll just find it for you, and then everybody will be able to add in whatever sections may be missing that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about every single section in your profile, but the ones that are gonna help you stand out online. So hopefully that answers everybody's question, even though I didn't answer anybody's question. All right.
Well done.
Cool. Thank you. All right. So the other thing that's fairly new on LinkedIn is in the skills and endorsement section is they have this take this skills quiz. And what it is it's a new, relatively new feature where you can go in and LinkedIn has a number of assessments that if you pass the assessment, you can put that badge on your profile. So this is something that, now I have not yet taken one, so I can't tell you the exact experience, but from what I've read online, you can take a multiple question quiz. If you pass it, and I think it's got to be like maybe 70 or 80%, you get a badge that you can present on your profile. If you don't pass, then I think you have to wait 3 months before you can take that quiz again. And you can see here that they've recommended some quizzes for me based on my skills, Google Analytics and WordPress. I probably wouldn't take WordPress because I'm really not building out any websites these days, but there may be some other ones in there, Google Analytics, and some other ones that would be worthwhile, so I can really show that I've passed LinkedIn's tests, and I can proudly share that badge. The next section down is recommendations, which I actually think is a pretty big deal, but unfortunately they've kind of demoted it further and further down the page. I think that the best way to use recommendations is actually to be giving them. So you can see I've actually given almost twice as many as I've received. I rarely ask for them. The few times I have asked for them is when I was really trying to build up my recommendations in a specific area. Like I wanted to get more speaking gigs, so I reached out to the people who had hired me over the past couple of years, and I asked them to write me a recommendation on LinkedIn. And you can see there's a link there for asking for a recommendation. And then you get to approve it or not. But I really think that this is a better opportunity for you to give recommendations to other people, coworkers, customers, vendors, partners, whatever it is, because they're going to get a notification that you wrote them a recommendation. And the fact that you did it without even asking, that's going to go, that's just one of those paying it forward sort of things. They're going to feel good about it, and they're going to remember you fondly. So that's actually how I would recommend putting your attention in terms of recommendations. So another thing that I want to just kind of mention is you may have gone through some people's profiles and see on some people on their profile, there's this connect button. And for other people, there's this follow button instead. Now, this is really your own choice of whether you want it to be connect or follow. And by the way, this doesn't mean, and it's not because Bill is such a big deal that he gets a follow button, because anybody can switch it over to follow. I'll show you in a second. And this doesn't mean that I can't connect with Bill, because the bottom line is if I just go over to this more button on the right-hand side and click on it, I'll see the connect there. But it's like, as a LinkedIn user, you can choose whether you want people to have the default to connect with you or follow with you. Now, where it is if you go into your personal account and go under privacy, at the bottom of the privacy page is a section called blocking and hiding. And the very last thing down there is just make follow primary. And basically, if you want to switch it from whatever it is to whatever it isn't. And you'll move from either connect to follow or vice versa. Now, there's no right answer. I can't tell you what you should do. My friend, Andy Crestadina, who I wildly respect when it comes to all things digital marketing, he prefers follow. He says he feels that it's a lower barrier. People are more likely because that, maybe they're intimidated to connect with you, but they can always follow your stuff. For me, I just think connect is more like we're on the same level and let's just connect here. So it really just comes down to what you're looking to do. If you put follow, more people will follow you. And if you put connect, you'll have more opportunity to connect with people. So that's a lot. That's basically everything I want you to focus on in terms of your LinkedIn profile. And if you go through this, and we're going to make this available on demand so you can watch this whole thing again, and I'll send out a cheat sheet for you too. Once your LinkedIn profile is where you want it to be, that's when you really want to start building your network. So I'm assuming everybody on the call is already on LinkedIn, and I'm assuming you all have connections. Now, since we want to use LinkedIn strategically, we also want to be strategic with our contacts. What your profile says and who you're connected to greatly influences who LinkedIn shows you and the people they recommend for you. And the same is true for everyone else. So because of that, you want to think strategically about your connections. You've no doubt heard the phrase, you are the average of the 5 people you're closest to. Now, I personally don't believe in that, but I do think that that thinking goes into the social media algorithms. This means, again, you need to be strategic with who you reach out to, as well as who you accept invitations from. The more Nigerian princes that you accept invitations from, the more Nigerian princes LinkedIn is going to put in your path. So for example, I want to be well known in Maine and New England. So I am more likely to accept connections from business people in these areas. I rarely accept invitations from people outside the US these days, unless I already know them. I want to be known for digital marketing, so I'm more willing to connect with digital marketers, search engine marketers, social media managers. I want to get in front of more business owners and marketing decision makers, so I'm more likely to reach out to and accept invitations from owners, presidents, directors of marketing, and so on. I'm sculpting my connections here on LinkedIn. Who are you? And who do you want to be connected with? Those are questions you need to answer for yourself. So let's start by talking about building your network. There is a great way for you to connect with more of your real world connections on LinkedIn. And if you go into the My Network section on LinkedIn, which is right up here, down on the left-hand side, you should see something that reads More Options. And when you click on More Options, you're going to go to this page here where you can connect your email to LinkedIn. I'm not on Yahoo Mail or AOL Mail and Gmail is probably not the right option for me either. But what you can do is you can export your email list. You can do this like if you have a CRM for your business, or if you have an email list for your business, you can export just the emails is all you need. And you upload that file to LinkedIn. And what LinkedIn will do is it will find all the people that are connected to those email addresses. And in one fell swoop, you can send out a mass invitation to all those people. If they're on LinkedIn, they'll get a LinkedIn invitation. If they're not on LinkedIn, they'll get an invitation to join LinkedIn. I strongly recommend not doing this. It's a terrible, terrible idea. What I recommend instead is click the unchoose all or unselect all, and then go through this list. And the reason I suggest taking this extra time to do it is you may not want to be connected to all these people in the real world. So I would instead go through this list, find the people that you really do want to connect with, and then send out personalized invitations. Now, there is a right and a not so right way to connect with people. Very often you'll find yourself on a page like this, especially after you've connected with people, and there's a little connect button and you can click connect. I could click connect at this point, and I'm already connected with Quincy now, and suddenly I would have sent out an invitation to Quincy, but I haven't told Quincy why we should be connected. So what I recommend instead is going to that person's page. What you can do is often right click and open up a new tab. That's what I usually do. I get to their page, I get a little bit more information about that person, and then I click on connect from their page. And when I do that, then LinkedIn gives me an opportunity to customize the invitation. And this is where I would tell Peter, hey, Peter, it was great having you on my podcast last week. I thought we should connect here on LinkedIn. Or, hey, Peter, we met at this event, or we did this, or our kids are going to the same after-school program, whatever it is, whatever your reason for connecting. But when you do that, you're telling the person why they should connect with you, and you greatly increase your chances to get that connection. And accepting connections, you should be just as diligent and just as careful with the people you accept as connections as you are with your outreach. Now, my personal filter for accepting or declining invitations has changed over the years, and it continues to evolve. There was a time when I first got started on LinkedIn, I would only check about once a year and didn't really care about LinkedIn. Then once I realized the power of LinkedIn, I accepted everybody who was a human. And then I started ignoring people from certain places in the world that as soon as I made connections with them, I knew they were just going to try and sell me outsourced services, which I'm not interested in. Then I started ignoring everybody whose headline was about helping agency owners land 10,000 clients in the next year or 3x their revenue, because I knew all they wanted to do was sell to me. Now I have a policy where if I'm on the fence, I'll reply to the person like Becky. And if I get a response, then I accept their invitation. But if I don't get a response, then I click the ignore button because I figure they were never serious about connecting with me anyways. There's no one right way to accept or decline invitations. It has to be based on what your goals are for your own personal brand as well as for your business. Now, there are going to be times on LinkedIn that you're going to want to connect with the right people so that you can stand out online. There are influencers out there or the right people connect with. Sometimes you know their name, sometimes you only know their position, sometimes you only know their company. LinkedIn has a powerful search tool that can put you in front of just about anybody who's on their platform. And it all starts with the search box in the top left corner of LinkedIn. And once you click in it, sometimes you'll see this, you'll get, are you searching for people, jobs, or posts? Now let's say that I was looking to connect with social media managers. So then it's just gonna ask me, do I wanna connect with people who are social media managers, or do I wanna find jobs with that listing? So in this particular example, I was looking for people, I chose people, and now I see that there's 360,000 people or so on LinkedIn with that in their job title. So that's way more than I want. And I really want to filter it down because I was only looking for people in the state of Maine. So I use the filter for locations, and currently Maine has 3 basic metro areas that you can choose from. So I chose all 3. And now I've narrowed this down to 454 results. So you can imagine how powerful that might be when you're looking for your own connections as well. And you can even go further. There's an all filters over here, and you can see that there's so many different ways that you can filter through what company they worked for, what school they went to, previous jobs, and really start to narrow your filter down to find just that right person. Now, I obviously in this example used it to find social media managers, but you can use it to find anybody in any type of position. We're talking about standing out online. If you want to get on podcasts, you could find podcasters. If you want to write a book, you can find agents. If you want to do in-person training at WEX, you can find the key decision makers at WEX. Very powerful tool. All right, so let's move into the feed. Now, the feed is just what you'd expect from a feed. It looks very similar to what Facebook's feed is like. Moves a little bit slower, less people are posting there more often, which means sometimes your post can take a little bit longer to heat up if you're posting to the feed than it would on Facebook, but your posts tend to stick around a lot longer too. I sometimes still get engagements on posts that are a week or even 2 weeks old. The easiest way for you to gain visibility on the feed without doing a whole lot of work is to like, comment, and share on other people's posts who you want to get in front of. Even if they won't accept your invitation, you can still follow them and see what they're sharing on their through their profile and into the feed. And this is a great tactic for gaining visibility for someone who might be very busy or who doesn't spend a lot of time on LinkedIn or for whatever reasons has been avoiding you. Seeing your name and face regularly, liking, commenting, and sharing their content can build a feeling of them knowing you, making that connection ultimately that much easier. Now, of course, you may want to be creating your own content and sharing to the feed. I strongly recommend that. As you can see, you can create a post just like you can on Facebook, and you can write text, you can include a photo, you can include a video, you can include documents. In this case, what I want to do is I want to share a link. So I had just written the blog post, I wanted to share it on LinkedIn. I copy and paste the URL into the post box. And what does LinkedIn do? It immediately grabs a preview of what that is going to look like. So it shows me the image and the title of that blog post. And here's a pro tip. Once you've gotten the preview there, you can actually delete the link. It's still going to work. That image is still going to be clickable. That whole box is still going to be clickable. Will take people to the website or the web page you're wanting to share. And it just makes that post look a whole lot cleaner. So I get rid of that and I start typing. And as I'm typing, I get to the point where I happen to have interviewed a number of experts for this post and I want to tag them in the post. So how do I tag them? I hit the @ sign and I immediately start seeing some of the people that I'm connected to. As I type out Andy Crestodina's name, LinkedIn shows me my most likely Andy connections, as you can see in this particular example. I see Mr. Crestodina and I click on his profile and LinkedIn inserts him into the post. Like on Facebook, I can choose to shorten his name, just his first name, but I'm not going to do that here. So this is what that's going to look like. His name is bold and now that's a clickable link within the post itself. Why do I do this? Well, beyond just giving Andy credit for contributing to the blog post, this is also going to send a notification to him. Depending on how he has his notification set up, he's going to get an email. He'll get an alert on his phone, a notification on LinkedIn, or maybe all of the above. If you're looking to stand out, if you're looking to raise your profile, this is an incredibly powerful tactic. Anytime you tag someone in a post, they're going to get an alert of some sort. And you can tag multiple people. When I posted this post for real, I tagged all 8 SEO experts who I had quoted in this blog post. Now, obviously, this is something that can be abused. So don't abuse it. Use it too often and you're going to turn off the very people you're trying to gain some visibility with. Now, the next thing you might notice, actually, I just moved off that slide I wanted to show you, but is that you want to put some hashtags. Hashtags are a thing on LinkedIn. They can be very powerful. So when I'm done with the post, I make sure to include a few hashtags to gain even more visibility. And I've heard from some LinkedIn experts that 3 to 5 is the best, with your most important tag first. Now you can put the tags directly into the post, or you can do what I did down here and just put them at the end. It really doesn't matter. As far as we know, it might make a little bit more sense to include one in the body of the post, but really that's up to you. And as you saw in the previous slide, when I started typing out some of the letters in the hashtag, LinkedIn actually started suggesting some hashtags for me. In fact, you can see in this screen right here, they're still suggesting some hashtags that they think would be relevant. Now you should use, here's my hashtag recommendations. You should use a common hashtag. And for those of you who don't use a lot of hashtags, all you need to do is literally type out that pound sign and then type with no spaces after it what you want to include. So I recommend using a common hashtag like SEO or HR, and then maybe one that's a little bit more specific, such as hashtag local SEO or hashtag HR nightmares. And then maybe one that's branded. And this is more so that you can just find your post easily or that others can find your post. So in this case, I use hashtag take flight. So optimizing a post to get more visibility is so important. I just want to kind of like list out the things that you can do to maximize the reach of every single post that you do. And as we looked at before, you should be tagging people. Not necessarily with every single post and not abusing the system, but this is one way that you can optimize a post. Also, people who are connected to Andy Crestadina in the previous example, but not connected to me, they might see my post where they wouldn't have otherwise. LinkedIn may show them the post because Andy's mentioned in it. Add 3 to 5 hashtags. Use emojis. Emojis definitely help. They're eye-catching. They can be overused, they can be abused, but the bottom line is right now there's something that really does give your post a little bit more pop. Write longer posts. Many people write like 1 or 2 sentences. You should be looking to include up to 1,300 characters for some of these posts. And if you are going to use videos, if you're going to share videos, whenever possible, upload them natively. What does that mean? Well, basically, if you're sharing a video that's on YouTube, LinkedIn is not as excited about that as if you took that same video and uploaded it directly into LinkedIn. So this was a video that we made for one of our events, and I had a copy of it locally. It was up on our YouTube channel. I could have embedded that YouTube video here, but it made more sense for me to take that original video and upload it directly into LinkedIn because LinkedIn wants you to stay on LinkedIn, so they're going to reward that behavior. One thing I do want to mention, you do not need to optimize every single post. I don't optimize every single post. I mean, I do a couple things here and there to get more visibility on it, but you don't have to maximize your 1,300 characters in every post or always tag people or always use 3 to 5 hashtags. This is just best practices, especially around those posts you want to gain the most visibility on. Another thing you can do on LinkedIn is create articles. Now, recently, there was a time when they were really pushing articles. Recently, evidence seemed to suggest that long posts get more engagement than articles do, but there are times when articles just make the most sense. All you need to do to create an article is just click on that write an article within that blog post, within that post box right here. And that's going to take you to a very simple CMS like WordPress, and you can basically add a header image and write out your headline and basically create the equivalent of a blog post, but on LinkedIn. Now, if you're like, oh my gosh, Rich, I have so much to do, I can't be creating content for LinkedIn as well. Well, here's an idea. Just take blog posts that you've already written, copy and paste them into here, and you suddenly have this brand new article that you can promote on LinkedIn. My recommendation is always, if you're going to be posting in multiple places, the first place you always want to post is on your own website or your own blog, because you want Google, this is an SEO trick, you want Google to see that as the authoritative place. That's where it first appeared. So I might post something to my blog and then 1 or 2 weeks later, I would repurpose it for LinkedIn. There are some other things that are going on with LinkedIn too that you might want to know about. Well, first of all, if you're just feeling a little bit overwhelmed and you're like, I don't even know if I can create posts, consider just creating curated posts or curated content. You're probably, if you're in the HR field, you're reading HR articles in your HR magazines and maybe the New York Times, Portland Press Herald. Just share those links here on LinkedIn. Add 1 or 2 sentences so you kind of customize it a little bit so people can see you were thinking about that article, not just posting it. But if you do that a few times a week, it's going to greatly increase your visibility, and you're, again, sculpting that persona. You're positioning yourself as an expert in this area. LinkedIn does have a live video option. So if you want to start, like getting a little bit more visibility, you could try the live video option as well. Maybe you want to start giving out some ideas, tips, or tricks around your profession. And most recently, LinkedIn just started adding stories. Now, personally, I hate stories. I didn't like them on Snapchat. I didn't like them on Instagram. I hated them on Facebook. And I'm certainly not going to use them on LinkedIn. But again, you're not me. And maybe for you, creating stories is the best way to gain visibility. Now, this is something that's just rolling out now, so you may not have it yet. I don't think I have it yet. But if you are looking for ways to stand out from the crowd, maybe play around with stories. There's another section of LinkedIn called groups, and groups used to be the most powerful tool, my favorite part of LinkedIn, but then it just became a place where people would do basically drive-by postings. They'd post something to a group, they'd never engage with anybody else, and it really, in my opinion, ruined groups because groups weren't being well moderated. And maybe LinkedIn felt the same because they suddenly started hiding groups. It had been a primary nav items, and now you have to go underneath work tab, which doesn't even make any sense, and then you can see more LinkedIn products, and one is groups. So normally I wouldn't even talk about it, but it happened to be that last week I landed a new client, and one of the things that we're working with him on is his LinkedIn group. And you can see here, he started this LinkedIn group. It's got 22,000 members on it. That's a huge audience that he's built up. He is standing out online, and he's using LinkedIn groups to do it. Now, he's invested a lot of time and energy in doing this, but you can see that this is another opportunity for you. I mentioned the Messenger tool before. Now, Messenger is a one-on-one or sometimes a private group chat tool. So why would I include it in a presentation on how to stand out online? Because sometimes standing out online or improving your visibility is about connecting with the right people, and Messenger gives you that opportunity. Just like Facebook Messenger, just like text messaging, these are small private messages between people. There's a few places that you might find it. One is in the toolbar. At the top of the page, messaging. You can also message people directly from the page right here. If you're using the mobile app, and by the way, LinkedIn has a really robust mobile app, which I find surprising. Every time I say it, there's a little bit of disbelief in my voice, but it is true. If you're using that tool, and actually if you're using the mobile version, the messaging becomes really important. The messaging is the top right corner of your phone screen. When you're using the LinkedIn app. And basically, it's just a way to connect with people. So, you know, people reach out to you, you reach back to people, you get everything in here. One thing that I've heard from a number of people is it's really difficult to sort through invitations and messages, and you miss a few. One nice little thing is if you notice in the search messages box, there's this little menu here, and I slide down to unread, and now I'm only going to see the messages I haven't dealt with yet. Now, I'll be honest. In the last month or so, LinkedIn Messenger has been really flaky, and I'm still seeing some really old messages from 2014 that I have archived at least 6 times, and they're still showing up there, but it still gets rid of most of the stuff you've already dealt with. I mentioned briefly that there are company pages on LinkedIn, and I do not know why LinkedIn doesn't give them more tools and more love and make them more powerful, but they really don't. But recently, they've added a couple of things, and I'm not sure if everybody has them yet because I only recently got mine. But on your company page, there are a couple of new features that I think are worth checking out. One of them is invite connections to follow. And you basically get 100 credits. You can invite 100 people to like your page. Those invitations show up in their connections, like when they're looking through who wants to connect with them. They're going to see Rich Brooks invites you to like Flyte New Media. So you gain some visibility and your company gains some visibility, and maybe you even get a follower. I'm not sure how the 100 credits work. My guess is that once somebody accepts your invitation or declines your invitation, it frees up one of those invitations, but I'm not entirely sure about that. The other area that I think is neat within the company pages is you can create an event. And that's a fairly new item as well. That's in the admin tools section. And so I click on create an event, and I create this event. Actually, Liz Bell, who's listening in, created this event. Thank you, Liz. This is for a webinar we're actually putting on later today with John Paglio from my office is putting this one on. So if you got more time later for more webinars from Flyte, be sure to check this out. But anyway, so we create the event, and then we can go in, any one of us who's connected to the company can go in and click on invite connections to invite them to sign up for the webinar, register for the webinar. And obviously it can be more than just webinars. And then I can invite my connections to attend. And what I like about this is it's even better than inviting people to your page, because you can kind of see up towards the top. I can filter based on locations, current companies, schools, industry, and more. And this allows me, so if I'm putting on a local event, I'm not going to accidentally invite people who are across the country who would never attend. So that's also something that's pretty powerful, and again, shows up in that same area where people are going to get their connection invitations as well. So you gain some visibility even if they can't attend. And again, if you're really thinking of using LinkedIn to its utmost, is you really want to stay on top of the platform and what's going on and when people are connecting with you or whatever else they want to do. So I recommend taking a look at how your notifications are set up. So again, in your account, there is a communications section. So you go to your account, you go to a page, you'll see communications, and then you'll see notifications by channel. And within this tool, you'll be able to change how you receive notifications and what kind of events are going to trigger these notifications. And you can do that on LinkedIn, so that your notifications within the app itself, via email, or even getting push comments on your phone if you really want to stay on top of these communications. So my takeaways for today, what I want you guys to walk away with before we get into looking at people's profiles and answering any questions, are these. Build and optimize your profile. Think about discoverability. Make sure you filled it out to the max. Think about your skills. Everything is just about sculpting that perfect business persona on LinkedIn. Build your network. And again, sculpt how LinkedIn sees you by being selective with who you connect with and who you accept invitations from. Although again, I like for people to have more than 500 connections. I think that's valuable and it looks good. Work the feed. Engage with other people's posts, especially people you want to get connected with. Create engaging posts of your own that include tagging others and hashtags and all those other things I mentioned as appropriate. And then look at other potential opportunities, such as building out a group, the company page invites, the events, and then some of these new tools like stories. And that is the presentation for today. So thank you so much, everybody, for the attention you've given me so far. I'm going to stop sharing my, actually, I'll keep sharing, but what I'll do is I will actually end the presentation. And instead, I am going to just bring up LinkedIn.
And Rich, we have a couple of questions too, that maybe while you're doing that, this one.
Yes, that'd be great.
Suggestion, but the company, Carol Harris said her company's LinkedIn page is old from way back and nobody knows the password. So how do they reset that or get that fixed?
That's a tough question. I haven't really run into that before on LinkedIn. I've certainly heard it on Facebook. My recommendation, they've probably already done this, is reach out to LinkedIn Help. One thing that I've noticed over the years is that when companies are really unresponsive to you through all the regular channels, just complain about them on Twitter. I never get Spectrum to pick up the phone, and I'm on hold with them for hours sometimes. But as soon as I complain about them on Twitter, immediately one of their reps reaches out to me. So my first recommendation is go through the proper channel, see if you can't get somebody on LinkedIn to release the controls back to you. There's probably some system in place where they prove that you are a person who can speak for the company. And that's probably would be my first thing. You know, if worse comes to worse and literally you just can't do it, you might think about creating a new company page. But again, even if you did, you'd want to take down the old company page, and that may require somebody to log in. So you'll probably have to go through proper channels to get LinkedIn to release that to somebody in your company.
Excellent.
If that doesn't work and you want to reach out to me in a few days, one-on-one, please feel free to.
John also asked, are followers counted differently than connections?
I believe you'll just see a list of your followers somewhere. So I don't like when it says on your profile, I think this is what you're asking. So it just is your connection. So this does not necessarily include followers on that list, is my assumption, if I'm understanding the question correctly.
Okay. We also have a profile.
All right, yeah, let's try and do that. So are they in the Q&A?
Yes.
Or actually, why don't you, let's try this instead. Tell me who the person is and I'll see if I can find them.
Okay, it's Hillary McClure. Hillary spells her name Hillarie McClure.
I'm guessing this is Hillary.
I would think so. Hillary, is that you?
Hillary, you'll let us know if that's not you.
Yeah.
All right.
That's me. She's confirmed. We're good.
So a lot of good stuff right off the bat. You do have a background image. Now, I can't really make out what that background image is, but it looks looks very booky. And so that's good in terms of some branding stuff. But again, I think that there's even a better opportunity. You know, can you use an image that really shows off what you're doing, gives people a better idea of the kind of work you do? And again, like I actually used my creative director, but you can do this on your own there's a lot of online tools that allow you to overlay text on top of images. So you might do something like that as well to further stand out. Maybe tell people like what you do for your job or something like that, just to make it a little bit more dynamic.
And Rich, just with that topic too, because somebody else asked about how does, with career interests, how can a job seeker customize the criteria for a new job? Would that be a part of the profile section as well?
Holly, can you ask that question again? I'm not sure I understood it.
So it's the actual question was career interests, and the job link has disappeared. How can a job seeker customize his criteria for a new job?
You might do that in the About section. Now, the question is, do you currently have a job and want to keep it secret from your boss that you're searching for a job? But that's a whole nother thing. Assuming you're public with it, I've seen people do a few different things. One is in the headline, they announce that they're currently looking for new opportunities. It's always a careful balance though, because you never want to come off looking desperate. And so you really want to phrase it in a way that looks very positive and not any sort of negativity, which can be a challenge, I recognize. But they'll put it right here in the title. They'll also include it in their About section too. And I've seen, just literally they replace the headline with something like looking for new opportunities in HR or looking for new opportunities in a Maine-based business or whatever the case may be. But again, like when you're looking for, if recruiters are looking for you, I don't know that they're doing a job search on people looking for jobs. Headhunters and recruiters are usually looking for people who are already employed and they're already employed and they have a certain skill set. So you may want to not even mention in the headline that you're looking for work. Put out your feelers outside of LinkedIn and instead be really focusing on just building out that profile to show your in-demand skills and experience. Now, in Hillary's About section, one thing I do recommend is that you include, is that you write in the first person. That's just, I know sometimes in resumes people write in the third person, but this is still about connecting one-on-one. And so I would just, and it wouldn't take a lot of work, Hillary, but I would just rewrite this so that it comes from the first person. And again, right now, this is just a big block of text. I might consider adding a little bit of, first of all, you can make it a lot longer. And you can also, like I said before, use emojis. I break it up, usually when you're looking at content on the web, anything more than a few sentences in a paragraph is too much. So break it up, make it easier to read, let people skim it, that sort of stuff, and use emojis just to draw people's attention to certain sections within the About section. I see that you're using your featured section, so you're well ahead of a lot of other people. And whoever asked a followers question, so you can see here how many followers somebody has. And then if I was looking to learn more about Hillary, I can go into the activity section and then I can see all of her activity, but a lot of times people are just celebrating something, liking something. So I usually will click on posts within here and see the kind of content that somebody's sharing. And so you can see that Hillary's doing a great job. She's tagging businesses. I didn't mention you could tag businesses, but if they have a presence on LinkedIn, you can tag businesses and other organizations just like you can people. She's using some hashtags. She's a fan of Kimmy Schmidt, so that's pretty awesome. Hash Brown, so excited. Yeah. Love some Kimmy Schmidt. But this is often how I'll go through and really see what somebody's sharing and doing on LinkedIn, so I get a better sense of who they are. So this is all really good stuff. I'm going to go back to her bio as well. Again, so I see working at Pierce. Here we've got a first person, so that's great. I would just, again, go back to the About section and use that. And you're talking a little bit about what you do and the kind of roles you have, and I think that's great. Via agency, got your education all filled out. Your volunteer experience, which is also very helpful as well. And that, yeah, so I mean, this is great. It's a great profile. It looks like you're a really awesome person, Hillary. So congratulations on all that. You've received a number of recommendations and you've given out a few too. And you're interested in Bill Gates. So overall, I'd say it's really strong profile, just a few things that I tweak. But again, sometimes just because I say you should do it doesn't mean that you should do it. But these are some of the things that I do see in the profile. I did get a couple people reaching out to me beforehand, so I just want to take a look at theirs as well. So this is Ellie, anybody from Maine or Southern Maine is immediately going to realize where we are, so it gives me a good sense of location. Again, might be an opportunity for some stronger branding here, but still pretty good. I like the headline. We've got financial in there, keyword, but you may want to add just a few more keywords in there so people who are doing a search for your type of services really understand what you do. I can see that you work at Richards Brothers Financial Advisors, so this starts to put it together, but it's not as clear as it could have been. So maybe you might tweak that language just a little bit so I have a better sense of what you're doing. I would add a lot more content down in the About section, and I definitely write in the first person. We can go in and see your activity here. And looks like you were busy about a week ago, but I would just try and be more active on a regular basis. I can go in here and see the kind of posts you're doing. So you're sharing something from your company, which makes a lot of sense. And you're calling out Portland Regional Chamber of Commerce. Always good to be connecting with local organizations as well. So some good stuff in there. I would just continue to post regular content, and I think you're off to a really strong start. And again, maybe just tweak a little bit of that bio to see if you can't work in some keywords or be a little bit clearer about why I would want to connect with you. And I'll just grab this last one, and then I don't know, Holly, if there's some Q&A, I'd also be happy to take some additional questions and answers.
You've been answering them on the go, which is great. I'll find there was one more, so do that. No. All
right. So here's Susan, and Susan has a background image, so again, points for that. And does this fall in line with the Sweetser role? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not entirely sure. I see you're the Director of Communications and Public Relations at Sweetser. There's nothing wrong with being very specific about what your job title is. It really just depends on what you want to do. As I've mentioned, sometimes I like to put in something that's a little bit more mission or purpose driven, but again, this is a personal choice. And then you can see you can endorse people for skills as well. And Susan is an excellent writer, I happen to know. So Susan, I'd love to see some of those examples in here. I'd like you really to flesh out this section again, right in the first person. I'm just going to go into posts. So Susan, we definitely need to get you posting more often on LinkedIn. So you are the Director of Communications for Sweetser, and I know there's stuff going on in Sweetser all the time. Great success stories, amazing things that you guys are doing. So anytime you send out an email newsletter, there's probably something that you should be also posting to your personal LinkedIn page. Things like that. Anytime you're doing a press release, anytime you're sending out an email, anytime you've got a new blog post, podcast, YouTube video, that's probably content that's worth sharing. So just think about making it a regular habit of sharing that content, whether you're sharing it from Sweetser's company page or whether you're writing your own content about it, whether you're sharing a link or just telling a story. But I know that there's amazing stories coming out of Sweetser, so I just want to see you taking full advantage of that. And again, if the people on this call spend 5 minutes a day on LinkedIn, which is really not that hard, and you've got your mobile device. Now, admittedly, we're not in line for coffee shops right now, but on your mobile device, you can just be sitting there watching, catching up on some Netflix show, open up the LinkedIn app, and catch up with a bunch of stuff that you're doing. It's going to look like you're the most active person on LinkedIn. I see a lot of experience here. One thing I might recommend is just adding a little bit of description to what you did there. And again, if you go into that edit section for this area, you'll be able to add descriptive text that explains what your role was, what you did. And again, always be thinking about those keywords. What might people be looking for who want to connect with me? And make sure you work those keywords into your descriptions. And I would do it for at least the last 2 or 3 positions that you've held. And we've got skills and just a lot of good stuff on your page. So a few things to tweak for sure, but I think you're well on your way. Holly, did you have a question to share?
We've got, the question that came up earlier was the featured section was missing.
Right. Let's see if we can't find, add profile section.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this might be it. So here's where I can add different things. So there's the intro. I could add looking for job opportunities, providing services to clients. I haven't really played around with the providing services to clients, but that might be something I'd add. LinkedIn, like Facebook, does regularly change things. But if you don't see a section that I talked about, then you can, you'll find it down here in this section. So I know some people were missing their skills. I forget what some of the other ones were, but the bottom line is all you need to do is just come in here and add in, looking good, Rich, this section is complete. But this will basically tell you, will allow you to add back in any section that I mentioned today that you didn't find.
Yep. Thank you.
And that is something that I will now add to my presentation. So thanks everybody for bringing that up.
Good. One more question was, where can you find help for running your first LinkedIn ad? Does LinkedIn offer help?
There is a section, if you are running LinkedIn ads, and I've run those before, there is a section under work, and let's see, advertise. So that's where you get started. It is supposed to be a self-driven section so that anybody who wants to can run ads on LinkedIn. That is true. Anybody with money and a LinkedIn account can run ads on LinkedIn. I will say that LinkedIn is probably the most expensive ad platform out there because it is B2B. So it's not for the faint of heart. You are going to have a bigger budget than you would have on Facebook or Google. It's been my experience. It's easy to lose money. You really want to be thinking ahead in terms of what your goals are and how you're going to measure all that. And I actually have on our website, but in a follow-up email, I can include this as a link. I did create a webinar around running LinkedIn ads, so there may be some value. It's about half an hour long. There may be some value in watching that webinar before you actually go in and start doing it yourself. But you can do it yourself. Anybody can do it. I just found that just like Facebook ads, anybody can do it, but because it's a competitive environment, anybody can pick up a golf club, but that doesn't mean you're going to be Tiger Woods. So just keep that in mind and be careful with your spend if you're going to be doing it on your own.
Excellent.
Any other questions, or did anybody else need or want to have me take a look at their profiles today?
Let's see, we're getting a lot of thank yous, Rich. Yep, I think a lot of people are going to see a lot of uptick in their clicks.
Awesome. Well, I'll just leave it I'll just hand it back to you, Holly, and I'll just say this, that we'll follow up with an email that will include a link to where you can watch the presentation in case you think somebody else on your team should watch it, or if you missed part of it. I'll include some additional add-ons, some things I mentioned, like the link to the LinkedIn ads webinar that we put on last year, and any other tools that I might think that are going to be helpful for you. So we'll include all that. And if you have any questions for me after the fact, maybe it comes up later, you didn't want to share it in the group, or you want me to take a look at your profile, but you didn't want me to do it while I'm sharing this with everybody, just feel free to reach out to me. As you can see here, let's see. Rich at takeflyte.com. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn and we'll definitely connect with you all. Thanks,
You
Holly.
better be on LinkedIn. Well, thank you, Rich. This was really helpful. I know the feedback we're even getting right now on the live chat is great. So really appreciate your time this morning and your insight. Oh, we've got one more question that just came up. Let's see. Oh, Stan Rins said, hey, Rich, and if you want to review his profile, you can.
Stan, I'd be happy to. You do great stuff over there, and definitely want to check it out. I'd be curious to see what your profile, what your header image looks like.
Mm-hmm. It made me think about mine, so thank you.
All right. Holly, anything from KMA that you want to share with people before we sign off for the day?
We're just happy to work with all the companies and all the people who are, fighting through COVID. And if updating your LinkedIn helps you feel better today, that's what we care about. But any help you need as a company with hiring or retaining talent, we're on site or on call HR and recruiting. So happy to help.
And we use KMA here at Flyte, and you guys have been great partners for us in all of our HR needs because, a small company, I didn't know a whole lot about HR, and you guys helped us put together an employee handbook, helped us with year-end reviews, and just have been a great, Angela has been a great sounding board for any HR questions that we've had come up in the past year or 18 months since we've been working with you. So highly endorse you guys. So I think
Good. Thank you, Rich.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. And you could probably expect an email from us in the next 24 to 48 hours with everything that I promised. Thanks, Holly. I appreciated this opportunity. And thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thanks everybody. Bye.